Today we celebrate the dedication of the Basilicas of St. Peter and St. Paul. And if you've ever been to St. Peter's Basilica, you will realize it is very, very big inside there. And the sculptures, while beautiful, are just absolutely immense. It's a lot to take in inside that basilica. It is beautiful nonetheless, as is true of St. Paul's as well. Some of us forget, or some of us do not realize, that when a church gets the title of a basilica, it is received that because it is being noted by the church as a house of worship which has witnessed many, many miracles. There are not many basilicas in the United States. There are a few. There are not many throughout the world. There are a few. So to have an opportunity to visit one is a tremendous grace. And if you're struggling with something, if you wanted to go to a house of prayer, a basilica is a great place to go to. Now, I doubt many of us are going to be able to get on a jet and go over to Rome, but here in Boston, we are given that great gift of going to the Basilica of Our Lady of Perpetual Help in Mission Hill in Roxbury. What a beautiful place that is. They have a beautiful novena on Wednesday nights to Our Lady of Perpetual Help, and it's probably well worth us going inside there to see all the miracles that have occurred, to see all the braces, to see the crutches that are there, to see the wheelchairs that are there, to see the many, many people who received miracles inside there. All of those are sacramental signs of hope in God, that God can work wonders through us. Please, if you haven't visited the Basilica of a Basilica, do so. And if you're in Boston, I must tell you, the Basilica up in Mission Hill is just absolutely beautiful as well. And there's a nice warm feel that you have inside there. Today, the church also remembers and celebrates the life of Saint Rose Philippine Duchesne. She was a nun from France who lived in the 1760s through the 1850s. She died in 1852. But in 1820, she was part of an order of the Sisters of the Society of the Sacred Heart. And she left her nice convent in France to come over here to the United States. Now think about this. This is 1820. And so while the East Coast is somewhat developed, as you go west of that, it's not as developed. And so she was missioned and traveled to, of all places, Missouri. Imagine what Missouri must have been like in the 1820s. She went out there, and when she went out there, she founded many missions. She founded the first free school west of the Mississippi. She had a great love for the Native Americans, and she ministered to them in a tremendous way. So much so, she also established 6 further missions. Now remember, she went over at the age of 49 to America to start this. It is absolutely wonderful that this nun was able to do that. And she did it because God gave her the ability to do that. She would come to be known as the woman who prays always. That's the name that the Indians gave her. Wow. Can you imagine if for your life, that epitaph was given to you, he or she prays always? Our readings today are filled, and I think part of this week, are filled with boldness. I mean, today, what is Jesus doing? The first thing he does, he goes to the temple. He gets rid of all the money changers and all the merchants. And he throws a fit of some sort where he's very upset and he says, "What are you doing to my Father's house? This isn't the Mall of America." Well, I don't think he said that, but we get the sense of what he said. This is my Father's house. This is a temple. If we were able, the temple has been destroyed many years since, if we had ever been able to see what that temple looked, the vastness of how long it went, it would put St. Peter's to shame. It was that huge. And there was the Holy of Holies in the most inner part of inside of it. To imagine how huge that it was, and then it would become at one point a mall. Jesus comes in with great boldness, And he drives them out, and he tells them, this is my Father's house. This is a house of prayer. We hear inside the first reading from the book of Revelation where it speaks to us, and it tells us about the times that are to come. But it tells us about, and it gives us this imagery of, at least as I'm praying, meditating on it, receiving Jesus in the inside, which we do receive inside of us. That food that is given to us to build us up in spiritual strength. And how sweet that is when we receive it. But in Revelation it says, after having consumed it, how did he feel? He felt sick to his stomach. So how could it be that, after receiving the communion, we could feel sick to our stomach? Well, in a different way. When you think about it, a lot of us put up with various sufferings. Or today, think about Syria. Go over to Syria, to all those Catholics and Orthodox who receive communion. And after they receive communion, they go back, for example, in Aleppo. What are they going into? Going back to great suffering, aren't they? And yet they maintain their faith. And many have been martyred for the church. But that has happened only because they have received Jesus and they've made his house a house of prayer. They know what is most important, and it is that house of prayer. And the house of prayer calls us to be what? To be bold. To be bold in how we pray. To not put within our sights that something we pray for can't happen. For all things are possible for God. And to always live in hope that the good thing we ask God will be brought to fruition through our works and through our continued prayers. Be a people of prayer, because that is what really glorifies God.